Good afternoon, Dr. G and class. Today I will be presenting how to turn your Raspberry Pi into a RetroPie or an arcade. So, to begin, I heard of many things you can do with a Raspberry Pi, and I thought it would be fun to download Python and get the coding and learn how to play Snake on it on my computer and then transfer that to the Pi. But then as I was doing this, I remembered years ago whenever somebody told me that you could turn a Raspberry Pi into a whole old school arcade. So that was the idea then at that point, and I just needed to figure out how. So first I went to my local hobby store and I found a Kano Build a Computer set. This essentially has a Raspberry Pi 3 and they have their own programming in it, and it's marketed as build your own computer, but it's really very simple. Go through those steps here. So all you have to do is you get the Raspberry Pi and you insert an SD card, you place a light ring on the top, you add a power button, and then you plug in a power source, which it would be a micro USB in this case, and then you snap a case on and you plug in your keyboard through a Bluetooth receiver. So once you do that, you hit the power button and it boots up nice and easy, and it's like a computer. At that point, it has a lot of different apps on it and things that can teach how to code and different things like that. So I took this and I wanted to turn it into a retro arcade. So what I had to do was buy an SD card. I had to format it to FAT16. Once this was done, I downloaded the retro arcade image and I stored the zipped file on my computer. From here, I got an application called Etcher, and I took the image and then I plugged in the location that I was going to head to, and I flashed it onto the SD card. So after this, I plugged in my SD card to the Raspberry Pi and it started running Retro Arcade. Now, this is the website you would find to get this is the website you'd go to get the image. So once you start Retro Arcade, as soon as you plug in the power, the Raspberry Pi is going to boot up and start running its system on the SD card. So it started up and I had to format the keys. So to give you an idea, this is a typical controller, and I went ahead and formatted the A, the B, the Y, and the X button. I formatted the D-pad, a start, a select, and then analog movements as well as the trigger and bumpers. I haven't had to use the trigger and bumpers, but I'll go ahead and get the keyboard and show you a bit of what I did there. So I used this computer that came with the Kano Build a Computer set, and essentially I did up, down, left, right. This is the D-pad, up, down, left, right. This would be more of an analog stick, left analog stick. And then I did the A, B, Y, and X here, because I just figured that was simple. I would have my fingers here to work the buttons, as well as here to work the directions. And then I made start and select 3 and 2 because they're just above, and it would be easy for me to remember. So this is my gaming controller, essentially. Next I had to add games to the Pi, so it's essentially a console at this point with no games. And the way you do that is you have to go to a website to find ROMs. And so I found emulatedgames.net, and they had Street Fighter 2, which I remember playing as a kid, and I thought that would be very fun to download. So I went ahead and I downloaded it. I had to put it somewhere, so I got a USB drive, a clean one, and I plugged it in. I formatted it to FAT32, and then I simply, went into my files. I had the Street Fighter file, and I just moved it to the USB drive. After this, I plugged in the USB drive to the Pi. Of course, I shut it down, rebooted it. I plugged it in, and all of a sudden there wasn't just a settings. I could scroll over and there was an SNES section. I clicked that and Street Fighter was available. So once I clicked Street Fighter, it started booting up and playing. And so here's a picture of the startup screen, and I'll give you a demonstration as well. But there are my citations. But to add new or different games, it's really simple. All you have to do, like if I wanted to turn this into a whole games library, I could store as many games as my SD card would fit. So all I would have to do is go back to emulatorgames.net and find the games that I would want to play. I saw things like GoldenEye. I'll probably download that soon. I want to download Super Mario Bros. As well. So I found a lot of games that would be cool to download, and I'll probably get to that pretty quickly. But I'll go ahead with the demonstration. So essentially, I'm going to go up there. I have the Raspberry Pi. I'll bring it over to you. So here it is. We've got the keyboard, Bluetooth receiver here. We've got our games stored on this USB drive. The Raspberry Pi is in this case, as you can see. And then the retro arcade would be stored here in the SD card slot. So all I'm gonna go do is I'm gonna go plug it into the power source here, the micro USB, and then I'll plug it into an HDMI to connect it to the TV. So really all you need to do this is you need a Pi, you need a USB drive, an SD card, an HDMI cord, and then some sort of keyboard or something that you can use as an analog controller. You'll also have to have access to a computer so you can format these things and such. So otherwise, I mean, it's a relatively inexpensive project, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So I'll go ahead and plug it up, and you guys can see it boot up, and I'll get Street Fighter started. There we go. So as soon as you connect the power, it begins running its systems. So this is all obviously what's on the SD card. RetroPie starts up. I'll go ahead and turn on my keyboard. And it connects Bluetooth, through Bluetooth obviously, because of the small Bluetooth receiver there. So we'll wait for this to get booted for just a second. All right, so here we go. So before I put the game on there, all that was there was the RetroPie and then the little settings logo. And I could go into my settings and change different things. But now that I got a game on there, I'll go to Super Nintendo and I'll click for it to run. Street Fighter 2 is at the top. I'll click that. Launching Street Fighter, and we'll click A to configure. Okay, from here we'll go ahead and hit start. We'll start on turbo, game start, and now we go to character select. I will begin with Blanca. Hopefully me winning this game has nothing to do with my grade, because this game is very difficult. So I'm gonna hit the buttons here to go up, down, left, right, and then these are kind of my like attack buttons. So I'll go ahead and start trying to show you at the same time. But it's kind of hard to win. Oh. Hey, good start. Just barely. lost that one pretty badly. But I think you get the point. Essentially now I've turned this into a arcade for classic games. It's a really fun project. I enjoyed doing it, and I'm glad I have this now. It's something that I can continue to put different games on and things. So we'll see if I win this one and then call it a day. Maybe not. That's my first one. All right. Thank you for watching my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it, and have a good day.